hyper-individualism, which is very much connected to race and class and all these identity categories, tells me that I don't have to. So what ends up happening is we end up being at greater risk. When people have that mentality of hyper-individualism that says, I should be able to go wherever I want. I want to go to the beach. I want to go out, go to a concert. I want to go do whatever it is I want to do. I want to go shoot fireworks off at July 4th. I want to go, whatever it is. I want to go to Disney. I want to go to the park. I want to go to the mall. I want to open my business back up. All of that is understandable in the sense that nobody's enjoying this, right? I'm an introvert and it still sucks. So when an introvert tells you that they don't like having to be shut in, you can take that seriously, right? I love my alone time. I need that, right? As an introvert, it helps me recharge, but I'm done. I don't need this kind of isolation. And yet I know that as a matter of health, it's important to stay sheltered to the greatest extent possible. These folks who were demanding almost an entitlement to go where they choose. I want to go to the beach. I want to go here. I want to go there. Who's more likely to manifest that attitude in this society? Is it going to be people of color, or is it going to be white folks? Is it going to be working class folks? Is it going to be upper middle class and affluent folks? Is it going to be LGBTQ folks, or is it going to be straight and cisgendered folks? Is it going to be men, or is it going to be women? And the reason I ask that, again, ought to be obvious, right? But think about it. This idea that I can go where I want, do what I want, and how dare you tell me otherwise? And not only that, but if you try to tell me otherwise, it's tyranny, right? It's tyranny. You're literally violating my rights, my constitutional liberties, by telling me that I need to wear a mask at Trader Joe's. That's tyranny. You can literally go on YouTube and find videos of, surprise, surprise, white folks, right, who were screaming about having to wear a mask. Oh my God, it's a violation. These are people who are not worried about children who are caged at the border. These are people who are not complaining about Ahmaud Arbery being murdered by vigilantes in Georgia. These are people who don't go to Black Lives Matter rallies, don't go to immigrant rights rallies, don't go to rallies for LGBTQ liberation. Don't do that for the most part. But by God, if you tell them that they can't go surfing, that they can't go to the beach, that they can't go to a sit-down restaurant and go to the salad bar at Ruby Tuesdays, they're ready to have a revolution, right? All of a sudden, they're done, because to them, that's tyranny. Well, that's about race too, right? That's about the ability of having a mindset that says, how dare you limit me in any way? For people of color, that ability to take for granted their mobility, their ability to go where they want, do what they want, anytime they want, is not as easy to come by. For women who have to think about that regardless of race or ethnicity, the idea of going out for a jog, for instance. Now we know what happened to Ahmaud Arbery, which is the racial end of that. But women think about being assaulted, or if they're out for a jog or a walk or a run, they can't take for granted their physical safety. Trans folk can't take for granted their physical safety anywhere, right? Working class folks know there are places where they would seem horribly out of place, so they don't go there. So once again, that's about identity too. And in this moment, we really ought to be asking what it means that some people have been able for so long to take for granted their, sort of belonging wherever they go, being able to go wherever they choose, and other people not so much being able to do that, because those are really important questions, not just today, right? But even when we get on the other side of this thing. So what are the opportunities then in this moment to meet this crisis with racial justice, a racial justice framework, and anti-racist practice? Well, first, let's start with what I think is really important to keep in mind, which is that if you look at the history of the country, any time that we actually made progress towards racial justice, it was almost always, unfortunately, not because people had had some grand moral and ethical epiphany, not